this.
Yeah.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to DNA's audio podcast return. Here with Caleb.
Nope.
And, well, you're not Locke. We should just use your real name. Rob. We're here with Rob.
Oh.
Calling
the
you
world
out.
knows.
Oh no.
So, welcome, everyone.
Well,
This
now that
is...
you know my secret identity. I've got to murder you all.
Right. This is what we're considering episode 101. Why, you ask? Because it's called The Dosage. Instead of The Weekly Dosage, which you have seen 100 episodes of, hopefully, maybe not. We're just dropping the weekly part because we're not going to commit to doing this weekly. We're going to try to, but probably not. We're just being honest with our listeners and our viewers here if you're catching us live during a recording session on Twitch or Facebook. We're going to, of course, export these out to several things. If you can see the live video, you see where it's all going. But some of the other ones would be Apple, Google, let's see, Spotify is probably where I listen to mine. Where do you guys listen to your podcasts?
I'm a Google podcast guy. The just like Google Apps podcast, I think does a great job.
Yeah, I've used the Google Podcast thing a little bit, but I actually just use Google Music, where it has the podcast option built into that. Just because it's I can switch it over to my PC. That way, when I'm at work and I've got a little bit of a lull, I can listen on my PC too.
So your preference is based on convenience.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that makes
Totally.
sense. Which is why I use Spotify. I already pay for premium, and might as well do that. The only other podcast that I get is through Apple, just because there's an app. I can just download it.
It's healthier.
Yeah, exactly. Apples are healthier. So chat.
They keep doctors away, I heard.
They do. If you want to chat with us during a show, we do answer chat questions and do react to chat during certain segments of the show. If we are ignoring you, we're not meaning to. We might be in a deep conversation of various sorts. But Trevor is here with us. He says it sounds fine. So again, welcome back to the return. Again, this formerly was the Weekly Dosage. We are now The Dosage, combining the best voice out there, Caleb, with the average voices of Rob and myself being Travis. So again, Caleb, thank you.
And the beautiful face of Travis.
Yeah, you're gonna get the visual of me.
Awkward.
If you're watching on Twitch. Sorry, not sorry. And Lana is here with us as well. She says first, her trademark, if you will. So we have several segments that we're going to talk about during each of our shows, just to give you an idea of our flow. We're going to highlight nerd news, the latest things that we find nerdy and newsworthy. Gaming news, because, we like video games. Sometimes we're going to talk about wrestling, if I can convince Rob. I keep wanting to call you Locke, but we're going to go with Rob.
You gotta force
You
it.
can.
More
I'm going to be in the
muscle
chat
memory.
as Locke.
Yeah.
More muscle memory. Just get used to it. Pick one and go.
Okay. I'm gonna mess it all up. But wrestling we'll talk about sometimes. Then we're gonna always end with, I think, the most important thing, because this is what influences people. Caleb knows best. It's how our friendship was started. But what you doing?
House, but you told me how cool it was.
Right. It's all about what you're doing. And we just basically want to sell what we're doing to our friends. And again, that's how Caleb and I became friends. I sold him on a bunch of video games. And his now wife probably hates me for it.
She might not know about all of them, so there you go.
Lana says, you like video games? No, not at all. We don't like video games. So let's kick things off with our first segment, Nerd News. Eventually we'll have cool audio things and, sound effects.
I'll just fill in for now.
Perfect.
There you go.
Very nice. Very nice.
So there's a lot to digest. There's ultimately too much information to digest out there. You could scour all the popular websites to obtain information, including social media, right? One of the things that I found interesting this past week was more so because it's interesting every year, it seems. and it's just not real. So supposedly, this is real news. This would be a place for a sound effect as well. Hocus Pocus. Have you guys seen it? Are you guys fans of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did
I
you
love Hocus
hear?
It's a classic. It's on our like household, Halloween list.
Sarah Jessica Parker, Kathy Najimy, and Bette Midler. Come on.
Okay, so you know very well then.
Plus the kid from NCIS.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, Thackeray Binks is one of the main characters on NCIS.
Did you add a lisp to that on purpose?
That's what it's called. He's a very old man.
Oh. So this will go into another thing we'll talk about in this segment, but they've confirmed. So all original cast members, the trio, anyways, that they are really ignore my washing machine. Wow. So Sarah Jessica Parker has claimed that the original Hocus Pocus cast has conjured up an answer, and I'm quoting here IGN's report on this, just to let you know, whether or not they would appear in the long-awaited sequel. And the answer is yes. Like I said, I hear this every year for the last probably 10 years, and you're like, that's fake. You always see those fake movie posters that people do really well, but supposedly it's happening.
Yeah.
What are you guys' thoughts?
Stick with I believe it when I see it.
Yeah, some healthy skepticism is applicable here, I think. But I'm tentatively very excited. Supposedly they're going to be basing it off of the sequel novel, which I didn't know was a thing until very recently.
A novel? Huh.
Yeah. Yeah, they made a novelization of the film, and then subsequently there's a sequel to that in book form. And they're sold as a single book with both stories in it.
Ooh, I don't personally think that I could go and read a book about a movie I watched. I feel like it's much more interesting the other way around. Personally.
You would rather have the movie, you mean?
Well, most times movies get created after books, right?
Right.
Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, but this one started off the other way. Is what you're saying? Is that the book was made after the movie? Is that correct?
Yeah.
That is my understanding, yes. I can't confirm that 100%, but that's what I've been able to find so far, yeah.
So chat, shout out to Kevin, says they're going to be cameos, not them being the featured trio. So honestly, I could see more of that happening than the three of them being the main focus again.
Yeah, that's also what the synopsis from the back of the novel seemed to indicate, so that would make sense.
Okay. Lana says I'd be more surprised if they got Thora Birch.
Sans her gross dad.
Yeah.
There's stories there. She's actually not far off base with that statement. I've heard some not great things, and it's largely why she left acting, apparently.
Yeah.
But yes, that would be a huge surprise to see her come back.
I feel like nonetheless, this is something that I feel like most long-term big gap sequels are just gonna. It feels like it always sets up for failure. Like it will never fulfill the hype of what everyone wants it to be.
Yeah, I mean,
so few films do.
That's
especially after this big gap.
Exactly. That's the concern. Has it been too long? It's tough to relive the magic. I guess if you want to go with things there of the original.
I guess the only thing I can really say in the face of that, and I'm not even sure if it's a real quote-unquote argument, is Incredibles 2.
Yeah, no, that was, 13 years between them? Something like that?
Yeah. I think that, that proves that it can happen.
Almost 14.
So, the difference here, though, animation, live action.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like they would be better off making a not even in the same realm type movie. Same like world, but still have the cameos. Kind of like a nod to the Hocus Pocus rather than calling it Hocus Pocus 2. I think that would be a little more interesting to me personally.
So in the world of, but without calling it a direct sequel.
Yeah.
Kind of like huge spoiler alert, I guess, for people who are way behind here, but kind of like how Split did. most of M. Night Shyamalan's movies were really disconnected, other than the fact that they all featured some quote unquote huge twist.
Right.
And then Split, like at the very last moment at the tail end of the movie, was like, by the way, here's Bruce Willis. This is, legitimately canon connected to Unbreakable. And then that, of course, led to the third movie, which apparently was a steaming pile of garbage, but that's immaterial. Um, so I think that falls in line with what you're saying, and I think that's a vastly underrated storytelling mechanic. They don't do that kind of stuff enough.
No, they definitely don't. Before I segue here, I have a direct segue for Hocus Pocus. Shout out to Crash there in chat. We're going to be talking about that particular game. He's talking about chat right now. Death Stranding later on the show for sure. So stick with us if you're listening or watching. Yeah, I bet your legs are tired. We'll get to that in a minute. But anything else you guys want to add on Hocus Pocus? Your thoughts, opinions, excitement, or just kind of
I think overall, I think I'll be excited to get another Halloween movie. I feel like I can't think of one that's been like new off the top of my head that's been like Halloween fun versus Halloween scary. So I'll be excited to have another one in the potential bank of movies to watch.
Goosebumps. That was fun. Have you seen it?
Which one?
Goosebumps.
Goosebumps?
Yeah.
Goosebumps. No, I have not seen it.
They've had two of those now with Jack Black. Well, he was more so in the first one than the second, but spoiler alert there. Well, not really spoiler alert.
Just facts.
Just facts. Shout out to
about
chat.
Scary stories to tell in the dark.
I just picked up that. I haven't watched it yet. So don't tell me about that one. Moto Man, thanks for the follow. Shout out to chat. Again, if you want to check us out on streaming platforms, this is the place to be for Twitch for most of our shows, but we also have our podcast here we record for on Twitch, which we export to the various things behind me since you're watching live with us. So check us out. Shout out to chat real quick again. The book was called Hocus Pocus, an all-new sequel, so the sequel book doesn't even have a real name. It's about Max and Allison's daughter who's trying to impress a girl she's interested in. So there you go. Have some information on that. Thank you, Kevin, for that. Anything else to add?
No.
Not about that. I'm good.
Cool. So the segue here is, I believe the hype and idea behind this is it's owned by Disney. There's a thing called Disney Plus launching 2 days from the time we're recording this, November 12th. And my thought is, hey, are they trying to get attention and hype for people to subscribe to that service? Because it'd be something that would be great to add, not maybe in movie theaters as it could be a loss, but to their streaming platform. What do you think on that?
Yeah, I buy that completely. I think that I think the world is going ever more heavily over to streaming, and for them to try and hype up a cult classic Halloween movie and say that the only place to watch it is on the new side, I think that's adding more reasons for people to sign up for it.
And it'd be easy for them to commit, them being the original trio, to cameos with lesser financial expectations to just be on a streaming platform, which is more than likely going to make a lot of money.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, come on. I feel like that's a very sound business decision to take a property that's, historically beloved and say, hey, we're going to do this. Like you guys were just saying, specifically to say, hey, come check this out on our streaming platform is a huge boost. So I think it makes a lot of sense, and it's certainly not going to hurt my desire to have that as a streaming option. I'll tell you that.
Oh no! I mean, what is it? $6.99, $7.99 a month, or something like that?
It's pretty cheap, especially compared to stuff like Hulu and Netflix anymore.
Definitely cheap, and then they have something that I don't know if I'm assuming you guys are aware. They have a package deal they're throwing out there. I think it's like $12.99. It includes Hulu and ESPN Plus.
That is a great deal.
Huge deal. But for me, here's my take on it. Not to get away from the Hocus Pocus side, but we already have Hulu that we share with someone else, and it is a commercial-free version, which is amazing, obviously.
Yeah.
And if we're not necessarily paying for it, then I don't really care. But you can't, to my knowledge, you can't customize your Hulu when you add in Disney Plus, so that kind of sucks a little bit personally. And then the ESPN Plus, I don't know, for me and my family specifically, I really only do the ESPN stuff for like football season, so I only pay 2 or 3 months out of the year. So I'm kind of doing this internal fight financially. Is it worth doing that all year round to get the full package when really I'm not really going to get that much extra out of it? But I do think if you don't have anything, I think that this is an absolute steal. You're just getting so much content.
Oh, definitely. Disney Plus, for those that don't know, what you're getting with that is pretty much almost everything of their film library, animated, live action. You're getting the licensed stuff that they own now from Fox, Marvel, various other things. You have your Star Wars license. They're doing an original series with The Mandalorian. They're doing all 30 seasons of The Simpsons. I mean, you're talking thousands of hours of content, supposedly, on day one this week.
Yeah, it's going to be massive. It's going to be a huge, huge thing.
So the one
The
thing
Simpsons
that
alone is a massive.
well,
I'll tell you that.
that's fantastic. I'm excited to dive into that. The one thing I am concerned about though is they've been ushering in these signups. We don't know really a lot unless it's somewhere on the support site or beyond the surface of their signups. Is it an app? Will it work with smart TVs? Will it work on certain devices, not on others? Like, how is this exactly going to work?
Yeah, I feel like I haven't done a lot of research into that side, but I guess just thinking about, you know, consumer-based streaming right now, almost everything is viable on, I feel like, almost every platform. So I feel like it's a safe assumption to say that you'll be able to get it everywhere else that you could get Hulu or Netflix, personally.
So I just took a quick peek at it, and the early listing says Disney Plus will be available on all iOS, Apple TV, Chromecast enabled, Android TV, PS4, Roku, Xbox One, and Amazon Fire TV devices at launch.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
it's
it's like they're hitting pretty much everything. Oh
So
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah. It would be
significant amount.
completely ridiculous to do anything other than that. But you know, I saw we had a moment where none of us knew for sure, so I figured I'd take a quick look, and that's what I'm finding.
So here the other question is, when you have a new service, and I'm speaking on the WWE Network, I'm a big wrestling fan for those that don't know. That launched, gosh, probably, 5 years or more ago now? It's been out a while. Generally, launches for these things aren't the greatest. I am really weary about the traffic this Tuesday and issues. You're going to have probably sign-in issues from too much traffic, too many people trying to watch content. Like, with their resources and background with it, like, are they experienced? Are they ready? That is my weariness.
I feel like they have to be. Just, I mean, I can't see there being too many huge issues to the point where it creates some sort of massive outburst on the internet. I just feel like Disney is such a humongous organization, and they've had, obviously, now that they've bought into Fox and they have all of that kind of knowledge base and experience and technology to pull from. There's so many different things. I have a feeling it's going to go smoothly, and I feel like the build up to this one has been so big that hopefully they've been starting to gather numbers and run stress tests on their systems based off of the numbers they're seeing from pre-signups and everything else, that I feel like there's got to be some sort of confidence and minimal issues.
Let's cross our fingers. I'm excited to dive in. I have kids. I'm a family man, so this content is very important for me to share with them and explore it. I'm just excited for it. So let's hope all goes well. Obviously, it'll smooth out in the coming weeks to months, but let's hope for a day one success launch for Disney Plus. Speaking of streaming, there's notes here added with the sharing counts. Did you want to dive more deep into that, or do you?
I don't think it necessarily needs to be a whole huge topic of its own, but it was just
Okay.
something that came up in the course of us discussing Disney Plus and whether or not it's financially reasonable for any of us really to dive into paying all these extra fees for another streaming service when we've already got existing ones or potentially sharing accounts with other people. And just in the last 2-3 days, I saw some stuff where apparently Netflix specifically is the big one behind it, wants to really crack down on users sharing accounts. To the tune that at the points when you would normally get the "Are you still watching?" or if you want to log in from a device that is outside of the immediate area that a previous device was logged in, it will text a one-time code to the account owner device to say, "Hey, you have to punch in this code to use it." I mean, the article as a whole, you know, the CEO went on to say, we're not talking about busting in people's houses and holding them down and saying, show us your login credentials, but
Sure,
we
they're
really want to
cracking
crack
on
down on
the
account sharing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
And I
blame
think-
them. It's a money thing, right?
Well, sure, and
yeah, they're losing out on potential double, triple, however many views of it is I think that, like my house, I pay for the 4 screens worth.
Hmm.
And I don't see them cracking me down until they see, 5 different locations potentially tapping into the account with the different logins that we have.
Right, and I
Yeah.
think we're all victim of sharing accounts with someone. I share my Netflix out to someone. I'm also, Caleb, you share your family plan through your Switch with me.
Oh, Nintendo, sorry Nintendo,
So
you're so dumb. You lost out on so much money there.
yeah, like
It's
you
a
can have
steal.
one up to 8.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can
Yeah.
have.
So
So I pay what, $35 is it a year?
a
That's still cheap,
year,
anyways. I would
yeah.
pay that
Yeah.
on my own, and then yeah, I have like 5 or 6 other friends that don't need to worry about it. It's a super killer deal.
So
Yeah.
I don't
So,
blame them. We're all victims of doing it.
well, and so that's really the thing. Like, on the one hand, I get it from a business standpoint. Like, holy shit, that's a lot of lost revenue if you've got a bunch of people sharing the same account. But at the same time, like, how do you manage something like that without screwing over people with legitimate use cases? As an example, just in the one of the scenarios where are you still watching or something, and it's got to text the account holder. I'm the account holder for my Netflix account. If Sarah's at home watching something and gets hit with that, it's going to text me. I may not be able to get back to her, and somebody who's legitimately in my household, physically and in every other way conceivable, is going to be unable to use the service that we're paying for due to whatever potential stringent things.
Yeah,
And so that's a concern for me.
I feel like.
And
Go ahead. Sorry.
well, the only other thing that got pointed out was the distinction of how do you define household, because you've got families where you, as an example, Caleb, I also pay for the 4 screen thing, and so you give me 4 profiles, and I get that that's supposed to be so that they can accurately recommend media to you. Like, if Sarah's watching reality TV and I don't, they don't give me a bunch of weird reality TV stuff that she would want to watch on my account, kind of thing. But also, I've got 2 kids. When one of them runs off to college and moves out of the house, they're still technically part of my household. Are they going to have trouble using it at college? You know what I mean? And so that's just
Yeah.
that's why I say I don't necessarily think we need to break this into a whole topic, but I kind of wanted to throw that out there as something that may become a big topic on its own at some point.
No, for
I
sure,
could
and
see
I
it.
think that we're already there. So I'll just throw in my last little piece on it. I feel like more than likely, I think Netflix, people like that, companies like that, are probably going to be biting harder down on the cases where it's a college kid who's paying for the minimum 1 screen and they're sharing out to their 10 friends. And when they start to see account activity so sporadic like that, I feel like that's when they're going to really bite down, because one, that's a massive loss of money versus 1 extra screen on an account. When they're potentially losing out on 5 or 6
Yeah,
other users. I feel like those are the types of accounts
that they're going to crack
that
down on.
crack down personally. Yeah.
Sure. I fear anything that talks about this kind of stuff in an automated sense is really my worry, because they do that more often than not. Well, we wrote an algorithm that'll track it, and like that's what worries me.
True. Well, let's all keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, here's hoping.
Yeah,
Anyway, that's it. I want to throw that out there. That's all.
I think this is a great seed right now to plant right now for 101, our episode 101, because it could be a huge talking point down the road for us. And we could return to this where our initial thoughts were and concerns and see what that really grew into. So, a great
Yeah.
topic to add here. It could become a really big problem. It could not. So, we'll see as the weeks go, and we'll definitely cover it. Another thing, speaking of streaming, 7 seasons have been supposedly announced for The Witcher. So if you don't know, The Witcher is a gaming franchise with 3 successful, at least 2 in my opinion, successful games in the franchise. The lead actor, of course, you may know him in his role recently as the Man of Steel. He is taking on the helm of the lead in The Witcher. What is his name again? I always forget it. Locke, you're going to be one to answer this one.
Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill, sorry.
Yeah.
The
No, no,
character.
got it too.
That was in my head.
The character actually in The
I
Witcher.
think my wife has a crush on him, so there's that.
What's the character he's portraying though?
Oh,
Oh.
Geralt of Rivia.
Thank you. I always forget that.
Sorry, I thought you meant the actor too.
Oh no! I knew that because he's a fantastic actor. Really curious about this one. So the content could be really raw. Thoughts?
Yeah. Just in general, I'm super excited. I took a long time to get into it, but I dove headlong into Witcher 3 and don't regret any of it. It was a great ride so far. I haven't finished it, but I love the game. And it really kind of got me into the lore. And I was about to settle in to read the books, and then Netflix was like, "Surprise, we've confirmed the series." And I was like, "Maybe I'll wait."
7 seasons for the series is what they're saying. So that's crazy.
Yeah, well,
Speak-
because there's a lot of content to dig into.
Oh, there's a lot.
Like, what if it's a bust early on? You know.
Yeah, well, that's a hell of a gamble for sure.
Yeah. I don't think it will. With the type of content people like to consume, Game of Thrones, I think it fits down a similarity.
Yeah, now's the time for sure.
Yeah, I think you strike it right now if you're gonna. So
Yeah.
it could be a success of timing. But we'll see.
Especially in the aftermath of Game of Thrones concluding.
Right.
People are really going to want something to kind of reset the palette, I think.
Yeah, I think this could be it. Speaking of that game, I've been eyeballing picking up on Switch because it's the complete edition. I only have the base game, and it's cheaper to do it that way than buy the DLC. So I was considering that. I just don't know if I want to play it on the Switch.
Yeah, I understand that fear. I really do.
Because that game is incredible and heavy as far as stuff going on. I couldn't imagine it doing very well on the Switch, but who knows?
Yeah, well, so it's comical, and we're gonna touch on this one later, so I'm not gonna say a lot. But
Okay.
Luigi's Mansion 3, it's on the list. That's why I'm saying that. And Crash is in the chat right now saying kind of the same thing. It's not going to look great on the Switch, and that sucks because even though games can look great on the Switch, Luigi's Mansion 3, The Witcher. Yeah. I played it originally on my PS4. I've been playing it on my PC, and holy crap, is it spectacular looking in that level of high def, and it makes me nervous to see where it's going to go on.
Well, I heard it's better in handheld mode on the Switch than it is in your TV.
The screen's smaller.
Right, the screen's smaller. It chugs, I guess, from the IGN's reports, is what they're saying. But I do have it again. I have the base game on Xbox One. It's just, if I were to purchase the DLC, it would cost just as much, if not more, to get the complete edition that's out now. So it's one of those things, like, do I save a few bucks and get a sluggish game, or do I spend a few more and get the DLC? But
yeah, I feel the concern. I do. Caleb, is this a franchise you have any?
This is not a franchise I've even dipped the toes in, and honestly haven't even thought about it. I think it looks cool, but I currently I have, and Travis knows as well, and I think we've talked about it just in general in kind of the little DNA family. I have this major issue of like committing and finishing games, and I feel so bad for all the games that I bought and all the books that I've
No, dude, you fit in very well with the rest of DNA.
I struggle to do it.
We get made fun of
really
because
well
we don't finish things.
I did really well at Far Cry New Dawn, like right when it came out. I just really played through that, super enjoyed it, and then just kind of fizzled out to the point where I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna trade it back in. I don't really care. So then I traded it in on something else, and I'm currently doing really well on Borderlands 3. I think I'm gonna hold on to that one for a long time. But yeah, I don't know. It's just a weird thing that I never even looked at it seriously. The game.
Yeah. I mean, if you ever find yourself with the time, I highly recommend you check it out. But I 100% understand where you're coming from, saying what you're saying. I mean, I can't. Travis is 100% right as well. You definitely fit in this group, dude. I just platinumed Lego Marvel Superheroes 1 earlier this year. That game's been out for like 5 years.
It was the launch title for the consoles, dude.
The only game
yeah,
I've ever
came
played.
out and launched.
The only game I've ever platinum is like the first Telltale's Walking Dead, where it's just this like, what, I didn't even do anything. I just finished it. Like, yeah, I don't do a good job with trophies.
Speaking of trophies and completion, shout outs to Crash. I know you are a hardcore gamer in that regard, trying to platinum everything you can. So shout out to you. That's impressive.
Yeah,
I wish I had that commitment.
As the kids would say, grape jelly.
Days Gone, yeah, that's an impressive one. That game's a lot of fun. They received a lot of negative feedback unnecessarily, but
it did. It got pooped on, but I liked it.
Yeah.
It's a weird sentence if you just pull it out on its own.
So we'll segue into our next thing. Caleb has a little bit of content regarding foldable tech and phones you want to highlight. What you got for me, man?
Yeah, so I think just in general, I'm somebody who can go on rants over all sorts of stuff. I'm most passionate, probably technology-wise, on handhelds right now. Probably for the past 5 or 6 years, um, I go every couple of years without getting a new phone, but every time a new one comes out, my hands just start twitching like I'm some sort of, I have a problem. I want to get my hands on it. I'd love to go to the mall and try and see the newest phone in the store and play with it and figure it out. I follow tons of tech tubers on YouTube. So I just want to kind of go over where we're at right now, where I see us going in the future, where I would like to see it going in the future, versus where it probably will go. So if you kind of, let's see here, roll back, one of the first foldable phones that was a smartphone, kind of two screens that actually flipped open, um, that I can think of was called the Axon M. That was through AT&T, and it was two screens, but they flipped open, so that when it was closed, there's only one screen being used on the front, and the second one was just a glass back to the phone. So you flip it open, and boom, you got two screens. So there's a bit of a crack in the middle. I find that to be the most viable option right now until I have to worry about dust getting under screens, i.e. Samsung Galaxy Fold, and other stuff like that. So that's kind of where it all started, but I just was thinking about it too. A lot of, I think a lot of props have to go back to a company like Nintendo, right? The Mr. Game and Watch clearly has had such a massive impact on games and currently on phones for us to be to the point where we're trying to make, smartphones that have the computing power of, I can't even think, full building computers 20 years ago. That their design aspects are built off of probably relatively chintzy video game toy from, I don't even remember when Mr. Game Watch really came out. But I think that's cool to kind of look at that and see the different changes that we've seen go through. Just want to kind of go over what's out there now, or what's rumored to be out there now, and kind of see what you guys' takes are on them specifically, or the technology, I guess. And let's spit these phones out really quick. So we have the Axon M, which probably you can't even buy. Then we have, sorry for the sniffling, the Samsung Galaxy Fold. There's technically another one in the middle called the FlexPi Royale. It was the first actual consumer one to hit the market, but I don't expect anybody to even know that one unless you listen to the DNA podcast as when it first came out. Then you have the Galaxy Fold. Then more recently, we saw Microsoft kind of unveiled a tablet slash mini kind of tablet, smart screen, smartphone thing. It's kind of in a weird in-between phase. But the Surface Duo, I think it's super beautiful. I'm actually very, very impressed with the actual technology on it. Then you have the Huawei Mate X, which has been on hold for a while. Kind of ever since Samsung had issues. I think they started looking really, really deeper into theirs before they spit it out. Then you get something that just came out recently, the LG G8X Thin Q. So it's just a regular kind of G8 phone, but it ships actually a really low price with a snap-on case that has an external screen on it, which is like super cool. So you have the ability to go back and forth. So you're not kind of tied in one way or the other. And then probably my personal favorite, the rumored Motorola Razr, kind of the vertical flip phone of the future. So I guess, what are your guys' takes on those? Do you know about them? Have you thought about them? Where do you guys stand?
First off, the Razr. I mean, isn't that a brand that hasn't been around for a while? That's a throwback? Right?
No. So Motorola is the brand, right? But that phone hasn't been around since, 2002, 3 maybe.
I was gonna say that's a name I have not heard in a while.
Yeah, the little flip phone Razr.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Razer gaming laptops. We're talking RAZR.
Right.
Motorola Razrs.
So I'll be honest with you. So I'll exit myself out of the phone talk. I've had the same phone basically for 11 years, meaning I've been with Apple. I've had the iPhone. A lot of people crap on it. It's worked. I've been committed to the Apple family of products, and I thought about venturing out and getting the Pixel. I stuck with iPhone, and I have no plans of going elsewhere.
I think it makes so much sense. If you're a person or a family that's in the Apple ecosystem, they've done a great job of taking care of you guys, and it makes almost no sense.
Works. So
it makes almost no sense for people to get outside of that ecosystem if you've been in it for a lengthy period of time. So hey, mucho respect to you and Apple.
And that's it. As the years go on, it's more of a risk for me to venture out.
Yeah.
Learning curve, not to mention, there are plain and simple some things that phones outside of Apple's ecosystem just don't really do in certain ways, shapes, and forms. And obviously the same can be said in the other direction. It's part of why I stick with Android, because I have equally been entrenched for so long that there's stuff if I switched to Apple, I'd be like, why can't I do this? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But
Yeah.
so
Well,
that's kind of whichever path you take.
I would
Once you
say
get settled into it, you're good.
let's for this discussion, if you guys don't mind, for this discussion, disregard who makes the phone, what the operating system is. Let's just talk about the if you've looked into it or not. Let's talk about just the physical breakdown. What are your thoughts on a foldable phone?
Conceptually,
Yeah.
I've got one foot in either direction. Like I love new technology, and I'm always fascinated by where this kind of stuff can go. And I'm not even necessarily stopping my train of thought on foldable screen technology at handheld mobile devices, but I'm looking forward to forward as in ahead, not like anticipation,
Yeah.
um, to where that tech could really go for other applications.
Oh,
Um,
there's a couple of really cool things that if we want to get into them, I can talk about bendable screens and kind of home tech. But yeah, I don't know.
But
It's some,
well, and that's exactly my point. Like that's the part of me that's really excited about it as a prospect is because it doesn't just stop at phones; it goes in that direction as well. You know what I mean?
exactly.
But on the other hand, looking at where we're at right now, and I know all technology has growing pains, but where we're at right now is just not a great place. The Axon was kind of I don't want to say flash in the pan. That's not accurate, but it kind of came and went under the radar
Oh, no one knew about it for
comparatively.
sure. Yeah.
Exactly. And everyone knows about the Fold, but most people know about the Fold because it's kind of a huge pile of crap right now.
Exactly.
They just can't iron out the problems with it.
I will say that they made the fixes. So if you're not familiar, to the people listening or to either of you two, the first initial issues there was in the hinge there was a ability for dust and particles to get inside and then create pressure from underside of the screen, which caused issues, as well as the protective membrane they had on the screen. People thought was like a factory input screen protector, so they started peeling it off, which would also damage the screen itself.
Oh
So
no.
they
Yeah.
fixed it by taking that film and tucking it underneath the actual bezels on the front of the screen. So now you can't even peel it or prick at it at all. And then they added two little plastic T's that basically close off the access to the internal part of the hinge. So they've
Yeah.
kind of bypassed that part, but still, it's not really. I'm on Samsung's site, and it's out there. It costs. Oh my gosh, it costs just
What,
short of two
1,200
thousand
bucks, ain't it?
dollars.
Oh,
No,
Jeez.
yeah, we're sitting at like 1979 for off contract retail price. Most phones, put it this way, so like my Pixel 3 XL when I first bought it on the monthly plan was like maybe 28, 32 bucks a month. This phone's 66 bucks a month.
No.
Um,
See,
that's massive.
no.
Now, to be fair, it's kind of like throwing two phones in one. So at that point, that makes sense. But does it really make pocketable sense? I don't think so. So I don't think personally, my view on foldable tech, I don't think this is a great um,
example.
consumer-based example of what we should expect people to buy and use. I think there are
Hmm.
some use cases for something like this that make a lot of sense. If you're a business guy that does everything from his phone or from on the go, I think something like this, something like the Microsoft Surface Duo, is perfect. I think it makes a lot of sense. You can
Yeah.
have multiple spreadsheets, scrolling. If you're a mobile guy, it makes a lot of sense. But for your average consumer, this is just like a hey, look how rich I am.
Yeah.
Currently. But
Status
as a
symbol more than anything functional.
Absolutely. As a
Yeah.
proof of concept, though, oh man, they knocked it out of the park. It's gorgeous. It's pretty. I think
Yeah.
Microsoft's is much prettier, much nicer. If you haven't had a chance to look at that, go check out some videos on YouTube of it. They did a lot of hands-on with a lot of the tech YouTubers. They got to actually hold it and flip it around. Man, it looks impossibly thin. The way
Yeah.
they
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
I did see the announcement for that, and that kind of piqued my interest because I do own a Surface Pro, the existing tablet. I think I've got the Pro 3, so I'm a little behind, but I have one is the point. Um, and so of course when that got announced, I was like, oh, that's kind of slick.
yeah,
Especially after how dissatisfied I was with the launch of the Fold. It was nice to see somebody come out with something else anyway, just kind of
absolutely.
proving that this ideology isn't dead in the water already.
No,
Um,
for sure.
the thing about the Razer,
Yeah,
I think is that's sort of a niche pitch, since I couldn't get around rhyming. That's what I've got. Because really, as Travis said, that was an existing property that's kind of been out of the public eye for a long time. I looked it up while we were discussing other stuff, and it looks like the last time the Razer name was actively used was on the Droid Razer,
yep.
which came out in 2013. And so we've got this new one potentially slated for theoretically still this year, it said, but I don't think so. I think it's going to
Yeah,
be
we won't
next year
see it
before it
though.
hits market. And so that's kind of cool, but I think it's banking heavily on the name more than it is the tech.
I
And especially
disagree.
if you've seen it, unless the one I saw is not the real render, but the one I saw basically looked like a Razor,
It
just
is.
with a whole screen.
So it's a different type of foldable phone. So in my opinion, I think this makes more sense for your average consumer. Since the average consumer doesn't need to have two screens, folded back and forth, seeing what's going on. What this does is it lets you use your phone. Like obviously, if I'm assuming we all probably have our phones in our hands right now. So if everybody who can hear my beautiful voice, can you hold your phone in your hand, right? Scroll, act like you're scrolling through it. Boom. It's a big rectangular screen. We're very used to this format, right? Now, if you want to go ahead and put it in your pocket, we have to take this big screen and fit this awkward giant candy bar thing in our pocket, right? Now imagine if you could take the screen, take the top of it and fold it down and then put it in your pocket. That's what the Razor is going to do. It's going to be a regular phone that then compacts itself to be in your pocket. You'll probably never use it when it's not unfolded, when it's folded up. So I think to me, that makes much more sense in a consumer based phone. And I think the technology there is cool. What they're actually doing, let me nerd out on it for a second, is they're taking the screen and when it folds up, the screen actually bends itself deeper into the hinge so that it doesn't crease the screen. Whereas on the Samsung Fold, you can see that crease in the middle of the
Yeah,
screen. The
yeah.
idea here for the Motorola is that it creates more of a curved thing inside of the hinges. So
Well, yeah. What I meant, to be clear though, when I say they're banking on the name, is that I have not really seen them do anything to push, hey, we're building a foldable phone, we're pushing the boundaries of technology, come look at us. They went, hey, we're going to do a new thing. It's a Razor. We know you loved the Razor. Come check it out. You know what I mean? That's what I mean when I say they're banking on it. I mean from a marketing standpoint, not as
no, yeah,
it only exists because it's Razor, someone will buy it. That's
yeah,
not what I meant.
absolutely,
I'm hopeful that it works out, but
yeah. And so, Travis, anything I'm on the Razor?
Honestly, like I said, that's why I said I'm backing out of it. I
One
have
one last
no, I don't do research on it because honestly, I'm on
you're
the
gonna get an
eight.
iPhone anyway, so what does it matter?
Yeah, I'm on the 8 plus right now. I'm not like, I didn't get the X. I'm not like chomping at the bit to get the 11. When my battery starts having an issue holding a charge is when I'll get my next phone. Like,
Yeah,
I'm at a
and
point where I'm
more
just like, does it work? Does it get me what I need? And it's fine. I
more
don't.
power to you.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't.
wholly respectable place to be,
Oh,
man.
I
I'll
used
just
to
hit
be in the
one last
place
little
though. I had
point
to
before
have
we cut.
the latest iPhone. I had to the day one. I had to go pre-order. I had to have it. But I'm just like, it's fine. I have a phone. It works. So
I'll just one last little thing, if you guys don't mind. The one that probably most people have never even heard of or aware of is that LG G8X Thin Q. Thin Q is just what they're using now to describe how thin their phones, which is kind of stupid. Um,
Oh, god damn it. Go
it's
ahead.
yeah, it's just no reason to tack a name on the end of it just to kind of show off how small your phone. So the price of the Samsung Fold, right, which is two screens in one, was what, just shy of $2,000. The G8X comes with that snap-on, snap-off extra screen, and in total costs $780. I think this is where the market should be going. Is I don't need one continuous screen. If I'm going to have a foldable phone, I don't need it to be one continuous screen. I don't mind a little bit of a gap. I'm not going to like read articles as I swipe between two screens. I'm probably going to have two different things open, or have what they actually do really well for like mobile gaming is the bottom screen will be your controller and the top screen will be what you're gaming on. So I think it's something like this that really makes more strides towards quote unquote foldable tech, for consumer use. So I'm more excited about stuff like this, and I'd like to see companies utilize this in the future and use the ability to push the screen of the phone to the edge of the phone. That way, when we have two screens that aren't connected, it looks more connected when it's folded open. But that's kind of my 2 cents. Well, more like 99 cents on this topic.
awesome. I
So
mean,
my
go ahead.
I do want a parting thought on that because I don't have a lot to say on it. I didn't do any research, but that was actually something that I literally just saw a review video of yesterday. Was specifically that phone, that bundle that you're talking about, Caleb,
Yeah.
and it looks cool as shit. I think, in terms of where we should be right now with that tech, I think you're 100% on the mark. That's where two screen tech needs to be, not folding screen tech, because there's no folding screen there.
Exactly.
But two screens, that's where it should be, because that looked solid and polished, and $700, that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
So that's it. I don't want to dive any further into that, but I think you're spot on with that. I think that's an awesome place to be in terms of tech.
Like you can't see me, but I'm bowing right now.
Right on.
So that basically, and anyone else has any insight, that concludes our first segment of the show that we have here. It's going to be a reoccurring segment called Nerd News, working title, of course. Yeah, there you go.
Great sound effect.
We need some sound effects. That'll be a work in progress. Our second segment
Soundboard.
is going to be another. We do need a soundboard. Damn it! This should have been a thing a long time ago. Segment 2, gaming news. We have a few topics here to talk about. Locke, was it you, I'm assuming, that added this one, if you want to kick us off?
I did. Again, jumping back a little bit, you were talking about your concern about Disney Plus
Yes.
launching smoothly because things have not been going well. And we've actually got, that's a good heads up, Caleb. We've actually got 2 notes that go along with that in this category. So I don't know if we want to maybe move Stadia up a little bit to match this or not. But the point is,
Yeah, go for it. Bump it up.
Red Dead Redemption 2 actually just had its PC launch, and holy crap, is it not going well. The game has been almost unplayable, apparently, and even the launcher, the Rockstar launcher, has not been working well, and it's not been a good look for Rockstar lately because everyone's comparing it to the relative smooth launch of Origin, EA's launcher, and even Epic Games' launcher. Epic Games' launcher is kind of terrible. I sort of hate it in terms of PC game launchers, but it works, and that's hugely important for this conversation. And so, in the midst of what we were talking about before with how's Disney Plus's launch going to go, let's hope it's not like Rockstar's because they are not doing well right now.
Yeah, it's I don't know about it specifically, but I've seen a lot of the headlines. I didn't know. I guess I didn't stay up to super date on it. That I knew that was the PC launch, but yeah, everything I've seen come across my phone as far as just like headlines were just like not super hot.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really read a whole ton of it because I already own Red Dead Redemption 2 on PS4. I don't tend to buy it again, even though PC versions tend to have all the fun mods. Like, day one, I saw somebody patched in Thomas the Tank Engine to replace the regular trains.
You sent that to me, and I about lost my shit.
I did. And so that's the kind of thing that makes me wish I could hold out for PC releases for stuff, but Red Dead 2 has been one of the faster turnarounds for this in recent history. GTA 5 took for frickin' ever to come out on PC, so
Yeah.
I don't think I could have done it, But yeah, so that's just not great. If anybody has any other notes on RDR2 PC or the Rockstar launcher,
No, I think it's good just to bring it up because it's bad.
yeah. Speaking of bad and bumpy launches, Google Stadia is technically officially on the ground now for some people. Full disclosure, I did go ahead and order the Google Stadia Founders Pack,
A little jealous,
which,
like,
well, I waffled for a long time, and I got in at the tail end of it before the Founder Pack thing went away. So I won't actually get mine until later this month, if not all the way into early December. So I won't be able to speak personally on how well it's going, but
better.
yeah, for $130, you get the Chromecast Ultra, which is the 4K-enabled Chromecast. You get the special edition Blue Founder Stadia controller that will not be sold separately later, they say.
They say.
3 months of the Pro service is rolled into that, plus you get quote-unquote early Founder access to picking your name on the service. And I was like...
That was one for me. I was like, ooh, do I risk it?
Yeah. But the Chromecast Ultra and the controller alone are the cost, you know what I mean? So I was like, if I'm going to buy it at any point,
Yeah,
I might
just
as well
got my
do it
first
now.
4K TV, and so I was like, ooh, this is probably should pull the trigger, but never end up.
Yeah. So that's, like I said, full disclosure, I did buy into it. I will get it at some point, and I definitely want to revisit this topic once I've actually gotten my hands on it. But this is another one that, the early rumblings are not good. Apparently, despite the Project Stream beta, which I did get into, and that was buttery smooth, the actual launch has been plagued with latency issues. And I've only recently come to find out that apparently the controller is only wireless when used in conjunction with your mobile phone or your Chromecast over Wi-Fi. To use it on any other device, it's USB. You have to plug it in, which is stupid considering it has a Wi-Fi adapter and a Bluetooth adapter built into the stupid thing. So that
Yeah.
hurt my feelings a little bit to find out.
I think relating this back to Disney Plus is kind of it's actually a beautiful correlation, right? We just talked about, will Disney Plus have a solid send off, and I guess the Google, I guess I kind of calling my own bluff here because I've never felt very confident about what Google's claiming to be doing. Just the sheer computing force. Imagine what their servers. I mean, imagine where those servers are at and what they need to be running and how massively huge that farm of servers is.
Hmm.
It's got to be ridiculous, and I just see too many moving parts in this one for it to go over well versus Disney. So I guess shame on me for believing in Disney, not Google. But yeah, I'm not too surprised. A little sad. I do think that they'll hash it out. I think it will get better, but I'm not surprised by this.
Yeah, all told, I'm not shocked. I'm a little surprised, but I'm not shocked. If the distinction makes sense here, because again, the Project Stream beta, I was floored. It was flawless. And granted, that was a very limited scope. It was maybe a couple thousand people tops. You know what I mean? And so when you try to launch it at scale, like what you were talking about a minute ago, just the sheer force that would be required to push behind it,
Yeah.
to have it falter a little bit is not shocking. But it caught me a little off guard at how poorly received it currently is.
Yeah, I mean, for me, just like my head can't even fathom the amount of people that would be streaming off of their, streaming video games, playing them, interacting with them off of their servers. And just, yeah, I just had such a hard time believing that it would work as well as they were claiming it would.
Yeah, I mean, time will tell ultimately, and I guess I get a full year from whenever they give me my code to activate the account before I have to actually cash it in. So I may hold off a little bit before I activate it,
There you go.
and we'll see how it goes. But I'm really interested to see it in action before I really say much more about it than just that early reports are not great.
Yeah.
Travis, I assume you probably don't have a lot to say on this one. You never seem very invested in this as a prospect anyway.
I mean, it exists. My curiosity will peak as time goes on. I'm more of a silent observer with their venture in it. I'm just going to give it time. I'm not ready to commit it to another
For sure.
console library at this time. I've already committed to too much over my head. I don't want to add to that.
Yeah, I
Nah, I
think
feel you.
for me, the biggest pull to this was to have the idea that, maybe in the future I'll be able to stop buying consoles. Like maybe if this can be as good as they say, maybe I don't have to keep fighting the fight of what's the newest console coming out because boom, you can get all these AAA games, just over the internet, super easy peasy.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be dependent on what you're into and who buys into it, and it's all a money game, right? Until corporate partnerships exist and people want to be friends, you're going to have more than one console to purchase. So
True, but I do think that in recent news, we're seeing much more friendliness.
Yeah, we are closing that gap.
We are.
Call of Duty being fully crossplay, and I know we're going to talk about Call of Duty later, but
I think it'll be
I mean,
something.
that's a huge moment.
We're not talking this next generation. We're talking 2 to 3 generations. It'll take.
Oh,
Sure,
for sure.
sure.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
no
it's
question.
More of a. This is the Samsung Fold of online streaming. This is proof.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Well, let's unfold into the next one here, unless we got more to add. I want to segue into. I'm going to jump over one thing and return to it after this one. Steam Remote Play with Friends. If you want to highlight that, Locke.
Oh, is that back to me again? I'm on the show for a minute.
Just because we're on the
know-
topic of launching and out of it, just it's a natural
and
segue.
streaming, because this actually
Right.
this does actually fit kind of in that hole too. I know I briefly talked with you about it and how it works. Travis, Caleb, are you familiar with Steam's Remote Play with Friends feature?
Very brief.
Okay.
I guess
so
as in I can read what it's called and understand what they're trying to.
right on. So for those of you in the audience who may not be familiar with it, even conceptually, something I've been getting into more lately have been couch co-op games. It's something that I was very sad we got away from in
What
gaming.
is that?
Preach.
Right?
Preach it.
Um, and so Trevor, we'll come back and address that in a minute. Um, there's a comment in the chat which I will address momentarily. But anyway, so I've been trying to find more couch co-op stuff, and what's great about it is that there actually has been, um, I don't want to say a resurgence, but I'm finding that it does exist. You know, there are games out there that do it. If you check back in our archives, we streamed a game called Heave Ho not that long ago. That is couch co-op strictly. There is no online multiplayer for it, but it is up to 4 players simultaneous, and it is just a ridiculous amount of fun. But that only works when people are here, and so that goes back to, well, that's why we invented online gaming, dummy. And what sucks is you still have these moments where it's like, okay, but I want to play Heave Ho with my friends, and there is no online support. So Steam stepped in and kind of tried to bridge this gap by patching into their own platform this remote play with friends. What it is anyone on your friends list, you can send them an invitation to play a local co-op game with you, and all they have to have is some input method, a controller set up with their computer or keyboard and mouse if the game supports it. And what'll happen is your PC does all the heavy lifting and streams that game visual only to them, and then receives their input back over the internet. So again, this relies very heavily on having a decent internet connection and having your PC be able to process a couple of different things at the same time. But I actually have had a pretty great amount of solid success with this feature, which brings me to the comment in the chat. Trevor said the remote play is a cool concept, but it's not great to use at the moment, and it's kind of true. 60% I would say true. Um, I piloted my attempts at checking this feature out with Not So Silent Bob, and he and I played Heave Ho and a handful of other games that are traditionally couch co-op, and it worked again, just like Project Stream. It worked flawlessly when we tried it out. We've since expanded, adding a couple of other people, and specifically, uh, creepy hugs from Prototype. Oh, thanks. For my birthday, which was yesterday. Um,
Happy
so
birthday,
Well, thank you very much. So
Frosty the
anyway,
Snowman.
with Kevin and myself, one on one, it worked very, very, very well. Like sitting in the same room well. It was honestly very, very shockingly well executed. But the minute we started adding in other people is where things got a little bit weird. And unfortunately, um, I was already playing a game with Trevor, and I tried to add in my wife, who was here in the house with me on the same network, and it kept dropping her input. She'd be walking around controlling her character, and then bam, she'd have no control of her character for a minute. We'd have to pause the game and wait for the controller to figure itself out again, which was very disheartening considering her connection to me should have been way more stable than Trevor's because we were local, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but I will say technically it's out of beta because it's in the regular launcher now. But it's only been that way for about 2 weeks maybe. And the beta period was a month at most.
Gotcha.
So this is a very, very new feature. So the fact that it works as
Well,
well as it does right now is very surprising.
I guess my question is, are you aware of anybody else that are aware? This is definitely not new tech. So there is a thing called Parsec Gaming. It basically is a remote desktop controller. But what it does is basically what you just said. You know, it lets someone else remote into where you're at and control, basically be the controller, so that you can play couch co-op. They could take over yours. You know, you could basically set up controller number 2 to be their keyboard instead of at home, or they can just play your character if you wanted to show them, hey, can you come and play this level for me because I suck at it. And I've tried it at work. When I tried it, it was under extremely horrible circumstances and did not go well. I did get 1 kill on a very simple game, probably out of luck, but I had to VPN to get outside of work to get back to my computer, then to get, so it just was clearly never going to work, but it was fun to prove that I could do it. Um, but the cool thing about Parsec, not to kind of go on too much of a tangent, is if you don't have a gaming computer, you can technically remote in or quote unquote lease or rent for free, or maybe there's a paid, I can't remember. Someone like basically a server on their end. So it's kind of an early streaming if you don't have a computer kind of setup. So just something else to look at if anyone else is curious or wants to research. Parsec.
Um, I actually was only peripherally aware of Parsec going into the Steam Remote Play thing, because the first article I read about the Steam Remote Play actually did call that platform out and say, "Hey, it's just like this." The only real advantage, yeah, and I say that specifically in this case, that Steam Remote Play has is that it's built into what is effectively a ubiquitous platform. If you're playing
Yeah.
games on PC, you probably have, or at the very least, have heard of Steam and know it as a company, where Parsec doesn't really have the name brand appeal at this
Oh
point.
no, for
So,
sure.
so that's kind of a cool thing. But that's really all I've got about the remote play is that it's a thing. It's out of beta. I've had some pretty solid experiences with it. I'm excited to see where it goes.
Cool. So, speaking on friends, this next topic I bring to the attention is more so seeming like a company that is now desperately needing friends. I speak on, of course, Microsoft. Not Microsoft themselves, but the Xbox consoles. They have not done well this generation in sales. They have brought themselves back from almost being dead, and now heading into this next generation, they have quite a bit of momentum. But when you have the numbers that PS4 has sold on their side, I have faith that a lot of those people are just going to go buy a PS5 1 year from now. So Xbox has announced something that you may or may not know at this time called Xbox All Access. Have either of you heard of this before I dive into the information about what it is?
I
Yeah.
actually have not. This one's new for me.
Okay, so this was recently announced. Xbox One, over 100 high quality games for $19.99 a month for 24 months, with no upfront cost and everything you need to play, is the best value in gaming, and it's coming to retailers this holiday and more in 2020. First off, it'll be available through Amazon. What you're going to get is an Xbox One console, over 100 games, online multiplayer with an upgrade option. So you're wondering, what does that mean exactly? You get to choose from a 1X, a 1S, or a SAD edition. The SAD edition is the S All Digital edition. We're just calling it the SAD edition because you can't play discs. That makes me sad. So 24 months of Xbox Game Pass, that's a pretty good deal. So the cost of that right there, if you have Game Pass, or if you don't, you get access to a lot of their first-party games day one, which is awesome, plus stuff in their library from the past and other non-first-party games. It's actually a really great service because you don't stream the game, you download it right to your console and it plays seamlessly, the full game. I think it works fantastic. I've had minimal issues with it. You also have the option to upgrade to your next Xbox console. What does that mean? When Project Scarlet comes out next holiday, 1 year from now of recording this, you have the option to upgrade. You're basically leasing a console and making payments on it. Here are the cost breakdowns. The 1X model, if you want to buy this holiday season, $30.99 a month for 24 months. No upfront cost. You're just paying a lease. You get the Xbox One X bundle, 24 months of Game Pass Ultimate, which is also PC. That means you get the Game Pass on PC. The limited time 12-month console upgrade option, and you save over $100 with this. So, layaway has been a thing for a long time. It was probably more prominent in our parents' generation than ours, but it's still a thing. $30.99. I mean, you're doing that with a phone. The only side effect here, they're doing credit checks, and you have to get approved through certain banks. So you can't just go, okay, I get it here. Here I want an Xbox One X. Here's $30.99 a month. You have to pass a background check, basically, or a credit check. So that's your top model, $30.99 a month, 24 months. And then you can upgrade next winter or next holiday for the next console, whatever cost may be, and then you continue the leasing program. For the 1S, $22.99, you get the same thing, and the SAD, $19.99. So you choose your system, you enroll, qualify, and enjoy low monthly payments, nothing due today. You start, and then you can upgrade. Again, Amazon.com is the first one to be launching this.
Shocker.
Prototype in chat here says no bleeping lease per month, no thank you, pass. I mean, what are your thoughts on this? Initially, it's piqued my interest because let's be real. The consoles at launch, the one, $500. That's incredible. That's a lot of money to just drop day one.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to get a game. Then you have to pay for online. Then you have to pay for an extra controller. This, you get everything. You don't get the extra controller, but you get everything you need. You get Game Pass. So even if you don't buy a physical game on day one, you have over 100 games to play day one. $30.99.
Yeah, in general, I'm not a huge fan of and it's Caleb and I were speaking briefly about cell phones because I find these are very parallel. Before we went live earlier, and one of the things that I pointed out was that one of the reasons that I bought the phone that I bought was because I was sick of the carrier bloatware, but the other reason that I bought the one that I bought was because I was able to buy it outright, no lease. And I see the advantage of a lease. I don't personally ever want to buy into another one again if I can afford it. But what I will say is I'm actually happy that they're pushing some sort of program like this out, simply because it will expand that market to people who might not have otherwise had that $500 capital to throw down on, do I like this or don't I? And oh shit, I've got an Xbox, but now nothing to play on it, just like you pointed out. So conceptually, I'm actually really behind this as a setup, because I think it'll expand that to people who may not otherwise have the opportunity to experience some of the stuff that we get to experience as gamers.
I agree, but I also think that it is a humongous crime financially on what they're going to do to you, right? So you're saying $40 for 24 months, correct?
Yeah.
$960 total. So in order for me to get my value, so I have to play 400 and something bucks worth of video games in 2 months. And I'm the type of guy who doesn't play tons of different titles. I play a title for a couple months, then get rid of it. Or I play like Overwatch. I played for like 2 years dead straight. That's all I ever played. So for me, I get the idea of people who don't have that $500 dollars on the spot to go for it. And I guess I like the idea of being able to rent something like this, but I think that is a humongous price point.
Yeah, I mean, I have mixed emotions on it. Like, I've been in a situation where I shouldn't have been. Like, when the consoles launched, I was working at a gaming. Well, hell, I'll say it. I was working at GameStop at the time. It doesn't really matter. You can say it.
Oh, yes.
No, jeez. So I actually worked both console launches for the PS4, Xbox One, and I couldn't afford both of them. I chose the Xbox One. A lot of people are like, gasp! You're a monster. I have them both now. I'm thankful of what I'm able to afford, but at that time, I shouldn't even have been able to afford the Xbox One. I traded in so much stuff. We made a lot of sacrifices just to make that even happen. So, I mean, at that time, I would have loved a program like this. One of the things I have to point out on their website, if you go to search One Access, or All Access, excuse me, does Microsoft provide the financing for an Xbox One All Access? No, Microsoft is not extending credit and does not determine credit terms or eligibility. Citizens One provides financing for Xbox One All Access and determines qualifications for and terms of credit. You'll receive a monthly billing statement from Citizens One for your Xbox All Access purchase, and Citizens One is a brand name of Citizens Bank. So keep that in mind too. You're through a financing firm, so you'd be put in collections if you don't make your payments on a console.
I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the case with any lease, really.
It is, but these are the things that a lot of people are like, oh, $30, I have an Xbox, you're not getting this back. No, you're going to screw yourself.
Yeah.
Do not commit.
I think it's one of those things. Great concept, the ability to kind of rent it out. I feel like, just for me, the end game money that I look at here, as well as just the frustration you go through with some sort of credit company. Doesn't look like it'll be worth it for me, and I feel like most people, I feel like $40. If you can't afford, if you don't have the ability to toss out $500 on the spot, I feel like you probably don't always have an extra $40 sitting around per month consistently. I feel like is also a decent thing to think about.
Sure. The only thing I think that really will probably get lost in this balance thing is, you're talking about spending what was the math, like almost $900 over the 2 years to have it.
Yeah.
But you're not spending all of that just on the system. You're getting the Game Pass Ultimate with it as well, which is $15 a month or 180 per year. So over
Right.
that 2 years, 360 of that 900 is Game Pass, and there's a ton of stuff in there. And I think that's what for me strikes it as a worthwhile potential value. Not for me.
And
I wouldn't do it, but
the upgrade feature.
well, yeah, and that, if I remember correctly, because I was mistaken, I was familiar with this. I just didn't know they had decided to call it all access. If I remember correctly, the upgrade feature does not guarantee that your payments will stay the same
No,
if
it
you
does
upgrade
not.
to the
It's
next
based
one.
on the condition of your console, whether they'll even accept it back or not. That's another thing.
Yeah, well, and your cost could go up depending on
Oh
the
yeah.
cost of the console at
Right.
the point that you do the next lease. And
Right.
so that's a gamble too. But so
Yeah.
that's my 2 cents. I wouldn't buy into it personally. I can see
No.
the potential
No.
value in it, but
I wouldn't now.
we'll see how it goes.
I mean, at the launch of the console, if I didn't have one yet, and like I said, I was in a different position. Sure. So it's good to have this as an option, as you mentioned, but you know, we'll see how well it does for them. I'm really curious throughout this holiday season and going into next year. Hopefully, they get some momentum going because I have a lot of faith in Scarlet and it doing well. So we'll see, though. We'll be talking about that a lot over the coming year, I am certain.
No question.
Couple of quick things that I wanted to bring up as we close our gaming news segment. This is coming as no surprise. Speaking of the PS5 coming out next year, Sony has trademarked PS6 through PS10, so 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. We're talking the next 30, 40 years of consoles.
Smart choice. Get those done now.
Yeah, you know,
Because you know you're gonna need them.
they had PS3 and PS4, I think, trademarked in the early 2000s. I mean, they knew what they were doing, so...
Yeah.
We should have
this-
we should have trademarked PS6 like last year, and then waited for them to come around and try and buy it from us.
We should.
I'm gonna go trademark PS11 right now.
I was gonna say do 11, so when we're
Just in
90,
case.
when we're 90, we're gonna get some cash. The last
Guaranteeing
thing,
my grandkids' future.
all right. The last thing BlizzCon was recently. They announced a bunch of things. I didn't put this in my notes, but Overwatch 2. Some people are
Yep.
excited for that, but I'm more so excited for Diablo 4. No solid release date, but it's coming to consoles. So yes, hooray!
It's exciting.
But yes, we'll dive into more Overwatch stuff
Yeah.
in the episodes to come. I'm sure once we
Yeah,
have
I'm
more
super
info.
geeked for
ready.
Overwatch 2, so I definitely want to talk about that as we get
super
more info and get
confused for
closer.
Overwatch 2 in general, but yeah, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
It's not a game for me. But
Hey Travis.
Huh?
Hey Travis.
what?
What you doing?
Oh, great question. What are we doing? Our closing segment today is just that. Caleb asks, "What you doing?" We might use that as a soundbite.
There you go.
I kind of like that.
What?
Yeah, that was
Have
a
some, like-
great segue, Caleb.
You're welcome.
Yeah, like
I
have
was
some
actually
like
planning it for a long time.
subtle music below it, like some saxophone. Be like, "Hey, what you doing?" You should record that as a soundbite. I like it.
Yes.
Speaking of soundbites, that's my washing machine.
That
Do
is
you hear
a
it?
fun washing.
you
Isn't
need
that?
to tell your laundry to calm down, Travis.
I know. Sundays are laundry day. Spoiler, that's when we
That's
recorded this. Anyways, what am I doing? We're going to talk about here, hey, you watching anything cool? You playing anything cool? It was just, what are you generally up to? I see Rob and I have a similarity here. Luigi's Mansion 3 on the Nintendo Switch. Dude,
Mm-hmm.
that is a fantastic game.
So good.
I've been having a lot of fun with it. Even my son, who is going to be 4 this week, can pick it up and play it. Like he's been able to complete floors on his own. Like he is
Wow.
loving the game. Yeah, wow, indeed, he's incredible at gaming. So that's one I've put a bunch of time into. It's already moving because you can sort on the Switch your time played for when you go to your games list. I like doing that just to kind of see what I'm neglecting and what I'm playing more of. And surprisingly or not surprisingly, my top most played application on my Switch is the YouTube app. Go figure. But creeping up that list already is Luigi's Mansion 3. I highly recommend it. If you missed Dark Moon, that was number 2, right?
I don't
Correct me
know.
if I'm wrong, somebody.
It was on the 3DS. I don't
It was
know
on the
what it
3DS. I
called.
think it was called that. I can't remember now. But the sequel was on 3DS a few years back. They ported the first one to the 3DS as well. If you missed those, please, and if you have a Switch, please do yourself a favor and pick this one up. Came out on Halloween,
It
and
was,
it was
in fact,
a
Dark
great
Moon.
game. So there you go.
Yeah,
It is
it's
Dark
gonna
Moon.
be a Christmas lister for me.
Yes, definitely move that up that list. It is solid.
Yeah,
Another game
Caleb,
I've been playing.
100%.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I got it for my birthday as a surprise. I wasn't expecting it, and I've been having a blast with it. So I hope you get it for Christmas. It's a real
Oh
good
yeah,
game.
for sure. Will I think it's one of those kind of trying to planning ahead of avoiding negligence currently. So get what I have done now, and then get that later. So
Yeah. I dabbled in Modern Warfare. I told myself I was probably checked out of the Call of Duty series. Tell myself that every year, and here I am. I picked up Modern Warfare, and I actually am having a really good time with it. The visuals in the campaign are solid. The gameplay online is not horribly unbalanced like in years past. It's a little bit more inviting as a what do they call you? A noob. Um, yeah, it's a little bit more
Yep.
inviting. I can actually get and rank well in the top few positions, and a good chunk of my matches. Everyone cares about kill death ratios, right? Mine's usually even or one or two off, which isn't terrible for me. So like I'm having fun with it. I think it's a really solid game, and the season pass is non-existent. They're adding content throughout the lifetime of it to not compartmentalize and separate their audience. So I think that's smart. And crossplay between PC and PS4, Xbox One is fantastic as well. I
yes,
thought that was
that's
a nice
big.
add. So
That's big.
it sucked me in, and I'm not mad about it. The Outer Worlds is on Game Pass. It's available on other platforms as well, but I have it on Game Pass, and I dabbled in that. If you liked Fallout New Vegas, if you like Fallout in general, or Mass Effect, this is a great combination of both those games. I recommend checking it out. Another thing, they ported over Lion King and Aladdin onto the Switch. They didn't change much in those games, but they added various versions of it. So the, I guess, final cut of it, as well as the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis of each of those games, and Game Boy Color versions. So it's a nice little bundle, and that was made by the company that put out the Mega Man Legacy Collection. So they like to treat their collections very well as a celebration of games, and these two Disney games were really well done, especially in their time, and hold up really well, and they're still incredibly difficult. But it has the rewind feature. It also has a bunch of hop-ins and jump around invincibility if you just want to play through the game easily. There's a lot of neat little add-ins. It's definitely a great bundle to get, and it's only $30. Highly recommend it. If you saw my stream Friday night on launch day, I'm playing Death Stranding as well right now. I've only put just over about an hour into it, not very far at all. Locke, you were there watching that, and that is an experience. Highly recommend that.
I'm still confused.
I am too. I'm excited though to dive deeper into that game. Look out for more streams from me
I
for
think I'll
that.
enjoy watching the game being played versus playing it. Sometimes there are games like that. I think that's gonna fall.
Well, check out my YouTube video. It's up right now, and then check out the next live stream. Hopefully you'll appreciate it. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. We played that this afternoon, actually. My son was enjoying that. Some of the games are harder than others, but it's a fun, just kind of dive-in minigame. Another thing that him and I have been enjoying lately, he is really into Godzilla. And then we watched the first Iron Man movie together today, so he was super excited about that. He got a bunch of Iron Man toys. He got the Hulkbuster toy he was really excited about. So he's diving deep into Iron Man right now, his love for it. And then as far as like what I'm looking forward to this week, Pokemon Sword and Shield, and then Star Wars Fallen Order.
Yeah.
So it's going to be another good week for games next week, or this upcoming week.
Very, very fun.
What you doing, Rob?
Hey, Rob. Yeah, hey Rob, what you doing?
Well, I'm not going to dive too long into Luigi's Mansion. As I mentioned at the top of Travis, I did also get that from day, and I'm just a stupid amount of fun. Really, really good time. But I've been revisiting some of those co-op games I talked about earlier. I actually finished up Heave Ho. I have one achievement left to get in that game. But again, if you checked out our stream when we played that online recently, I went through and we beat all of the hard levels. I got all the coins. I had a lot of fun with that. I picked up a new couple of co-op games, Out of Space, which is sort of if Overcooked meant met up with cleaning a apartment in space. So it's that one's been a tremendous amount of fun. Player couch co-op. I also picked up Unrailed, procedurally generated terrain where you have to build the train tracks in front of the train as it moves through. Like I said, I've been trying to get into co-op games, and sometimes you find some weird stuff.
Yeah.
Unreal's been fun, but it's weird. I recommend checking out at least a video of it. But speaking of videos of weird PC games,
Yeah.
the next one on my list, Untitled Goose Game.
Oh, so fun.
It was $20, and I beat it in like an hour and a half,
Oh, jeez.
and it was the best $20 I've spent in a long, long time. It's you know how everyone is like geese are assholes. Well, you get to be the asshole goose. It's
Wait, how come you haven't
it's
streamed that yet?
I'm going to. I am
Okay.
going to. Not to bring the mood down or get too personal on it. I've been in a bit of a rough space mentally lately, and the amount of fun I had with Untitled Goose Game kind of helped me get through a little bit of that. Because sometimes you don't need anything to fix it. You just got to get through it. You know what I mean? And Goose Game kind of helped me with that a little bit.
Games can be a big help.
Yeah, absolutely. But so that being said, I absolutely do want to stream Untitled Goose Game, because when I say I beat it, I completed what is the normal checklist of puzzles to complete in a normal playthrough. But after you beat it the first time, it drops you back into the world with a whole new set of to-dos. And since I've already solved the first puzzles, my plan is to actually run through the whole game on stream, and do the regular puzzles, and then try to follow that up by solving the more complex ones in the, basically you could call it New Game Plus. But it's $20. It's currently only available on, I believe, Switch and the Epic Games launcher on PC. I could be mistaken on the console platforms, but I know it's on Switch and Epic Games. I highly recommend you check it out. It's worth every penny. Destiny 2, speaking of PC games and some sort of co-op, went free to play recently on PC, and so I've kind of been messing around with that a little bit. Me and my friends got real heavily into it for a while, to the point that we were doing the raids back in the base game, and I kind of got really bored with it, and I put it down for a long time. But I've kind of been checking it out again now that it's free to play on PC, because it has cross save.
Oh.
So I was able to load up my existing characters from my PlayStation 4 game and just dive right back in. And so
That's cool.
the game has had almost a complete overhaul in terms of mechanics and interface. Graphically, it looks the same. Gameplay hasn't really changed in the minute, but like, armors have new abilities and new ways to interact with them. The commerce system has been completely overhauled. It's 30% a whole new game, and it's actually up heaven with it. And the last one on my list, I have not actually opened yet, because my other birthday present yesterday was the collection of mana for the Switch. And that actually enlightened me to something that I did not previously, and that is apparently the Of Mana games are an offshoot of the Final Fantasy franchise.
Yes. Because there's
so,
one in that collection specifically.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what brought it to my attention, is the game that quote unquote started it all is Final Fantasy Adventure, which appears to be a classic Game Boy game, is the first game in that collection of mana. So I'm actually really kind of excited to sit down and check that out, because historically I love both of these franchises. I just had no idea they were connected, largely because I missed out on all the Game Boy Final Fantasies. So, I mean, that's what I've been up to. I don't really want to eat up too much more time. Like I said, Luigi's Mansion, check it out. Untitled Goose Game, check it out. And so that brings us to Caleb. What you doing, buddy?
Well, shortly before we started this, I was trying to figure out what Discord was and how to use it. Checked that off. I've been playing a lot of Borderlands 3. As when I say a lot, I mean in my world. So like really not that much compared to you guys. But a lot of my world, I'm really enjoying it, even though it's currently frustrating because I don't want those skulls to keep flying at me, because I've already did one run of the Haunt and I don't want to do it again. Let's see. Fighting the, what I like to call, quote unquote, keeping my Switch charged and not lost battle. So I don't have a second charger anymore. Mine broke. I have to keep docking it to charge it, or keep dismantling my dock, which is not really worthwhile. So that's a frustration for me. Very much looking forward to Pokemon Sword. Not so much looking forward. I'm going to talk quietly because my wife's in the because there's a chance when that comes out she will steal my Switch from me, and I may be forced to buy her a Switch Lite potentially. I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
Now you're getting Sword over Shield. Why?
Uh, honestly, I just think that it looked cooler on the front.
Okay. I
And it
just
wants
didn't know
motor
if it because of a specific Pokemon that you heard that was in it. Or...
Nope, didn't even look into it. Thought it looked cooler. There you go.
Okay, cool.
Did you do any research before you bought red or blue the first time? Didn't think so. You looked at the color. You picked it.
I
There we go.
bought both.
Perfect. On PC, I play a lot of boom, nailed it. I play a lot of Shotgun Farmers. That's like one of my favorite, just super mindless games. If you haven't played that, highly recommend checking it out. A quick little thing. It's a first-person, super chintzy graphic shooter where all of your guns are vegetables and the bullets are their seeds. So if I shoot my corn shotgun at you and I miss, a few minutes later, shotguns will grow out of the ground for someone else to grab.
What?
So it's so like there's only like one bazooka and it's the carrot. So you find it and you start shooting people, but everywhere you miss, more bazookas grow later, minutes later for people to go harvest and then use as the weapon. So very fun. That's something we could play together. I think would be a blast.
Yeah.
This one's hard to say, but it's fun to play. Robot Roller Derby Disco Dodgeball. That's
Ooh.
exactly what it sounds. You're a robot with a wheel and it's disco music. You're playing dodgeball. Really enjoy that one. I bought a whole bunch of random indies on Switch. One day I just was like, screw it. I'm going to buy like a $50 gift card to the Nintendo store. And then I bought a whole bunch of stuff. Haven't played them yet, but looking forward to charging that Switch once I find it. And I'm starting to play those again. Just before we did this, I watched Pixels, the Adam Sandler movie, for the first time.
What'd you think?
Thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, yeah, great movie. I know some people are hit or miss on Adam Sandler, but I thought this was very entertaining.
Yeah.
End of the... Oh, there you go. Yeah, I already figured out how to use Discord, so check
Found
it
out. You found out how. You did it.
Yes.
Well,
So proud of you, buddy.
Thank you.
with all of that, do we have any last minute thoughts or things to look forward to on our next The Dosage podcast?
No. I look forward to keeping you guys up to date on my Switch battle.
Yes, we're interested. You should make an ongoing segment just for that alone.
Yeah. Oh, you can.
What percent is your Switch at today, Caleb?
Yes.
I guess one small, we went on a road trip up north to my parents' cabin. I had the inner fight of, do I really buy a car charger? Like, I shouldn't buy a car charger for it because I will never probably charge it in the car besides this trip. But I really want to play it, and it's dead because I had lost it for a week. And so I bought a DC outlet inverter so that I could just plug in a wall charger, and I took apart my dock and
That's
used
smart.
it.
That's smart.
So that was fun.
Well, everyone, thank you for listening. We truly appreciate it. This is our return to what we like to do, talk. This has been episode 101 of The Dosage, and if you want to continue to explore our content, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all by searching for Dose of Nerd Acumen. If you're specifically on Twitter, it's nerd_acumen. But if you like our podcast and if you want to listen to more, you can find us on Apple, Google, Spotify. Recording this live either on Twitch or Facebook when we do, so turn on those notifications. And then also Breaker. And then we're also, what's the main host? Anchor. So those are the various things you can find us on. I want to thank Caleb, of course, for sticking with us doing the episodes that he's done. So how many did you do? 10? Was you
10,
previously done?
I think that was right. I kind of lost track when I started doing days. So yeah, kind of a weird side note with Rob. I've had a rough, long summer, so I'm hoping to get some of those podcasts rolling. My plan is to get more kind of on-air hosts and just fun conversations. Very similar to this, just a little bit shorter and a little more probably random.
Definitely. So if you're really interested in the tech stuff, Caleb's going to be your best source for deep diving. So search for Dose of Nerd Audio, which is his tech focused, and then as well as, I don't know how to describe you. Caleb is unique. If you like
I'm
so
eclectic is what I like to describe.
There we go. And it's a compliment of many
feel
sorts.
that.
It's not any negative. So, and then Rob, of course, you can find his random streams on our Twitch, which again is Dose of Nerd Acumen. Give us a follow. And then every Thursday, as of right now, we have a fun wrestling show that's interactive with our awesome community. Join us for that every week as well, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Highly recommend.
Thank you, Caleb. It's been a lot of fun so far. We're approaching 150 episodes, which is insane to me. Yeah, it's been an amazing ride for all of this. I'm looking forward to many more episodes of the Dosage podcast. And I want to thank you all for listening. Thank you again for joining me here this week, Rob and Caleb. And if you want to be a special guest on our show, let us know. We'll have call-ins in the near future. So again, thank you all, and until next time.
Bye.